Yeah,
So
hello.
I guess we're live.
Yeah, we're live. Hi, everyone.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the live stream. My name is Sonia, the founder of the Cosmos Ladies, and professionally working as developer relations engineer in the Cosmos ecosystem. So, along with me, I have my teammate Spurti, and today we are joined by the Stargaze developer Jake. First of all, thank you so much for joining today. In this session, we will be exploring the technical details behind the scenes of Stargaze blockchain, and it's definitely the most trending topic in the Cosmos ecosystem. So now I will pass my mic on to Spurti and then Jake for further introduction.
Yeah, hey, everyone. I'm Spurti. I'm also one of the co founders of the Cosmos Ladies, and I currently work as a protocol engineer at Ignite. And I've been involved in the development side of Cosmos for over a year now. I got started with Secret and then came to Cosmos, and yeah, and then I stayed here because it's awesome here. And today we're joined by Jake from Public Awesome, the team which works on Stargaze. So, hi, Jake.
Hey guys, what's up?
So, would you like to say anything about yourself?
Um, my name is Jake, also known as Meow if you see me in Discord. I work on, I'm a co-founder of Stargaze. I'm also co-founder of Juno and started a little thing called DAO. But yes, I'm quite very busy in the Cosmos world, but really excited to talk about Stargaze in particular because we've been through quite a journey. I've been working on Stargaze with Shane and Jorge for almost, I think it's over 2 years now, which is a pretty long time. And we've seen the Cosmos SDK grow and evolve in many, like, I think, wonderful ways. It's way better than when we first started, but and Shane and Jorge have been working with it even longer than I have. So hopefully you can get them on someday to talk about stuff. But even so, in 2 years, so much has changed. So yeah, excited to hear what questions you guys have and talk about it.
Definitely. Definitely. So before we move on to Stargaze technology, we would love to know what's your background in blockchain and how did you get introduced to Web3, especially the Cosmos ecosystem?
Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead. I've been in blockchain and very interested in blockchains for a really long time. I haven't really been a blockchain developer per se until um, I really started. Well, I kind of dabbled with Solidity in like 2016 and like was kind of very into like the Ethereum ecosystem. I had another startup back then, but Ethereum wasn't really kind of. It didn't meet, like, I kind of wanted to build this data marketplace kind of thing, which was too ahead of its time in 2017. And Ethereum was already congested and like the transaction fees were already like very expensive. And so I was kind of interested in other things. And I went to this blockchain at Berkeley talk because I'm actually a Cal grad. I went to grad school at Berkeley. When I went to grad school, it was only Bitcoin at Berkeley, and I was part of the Bitcoin at Berkeley club. But I went to a Cal blockchain talk. I think it was 2017 or 2018, and Sunny was there. And Sunny was giving a talk on Cosmos and IBC. And I heard that, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is really cool." Like, wait, instead of like trying to shove everything through one blockchain, we can have like thousands of blockchains. Like that horizontal scaling will solve the scalability issues. Like that'll grow to billions and trillions of transactions per second. I was like, this is awesome. Um, and then the market crashed and lots of stuff happened. My first startup kind of got like acqui-hired under really bad terms that I'm not allowed to talk about. And then I moved to LA, and one day I was sitting in a cafe and someone had a Cosmos sticker, and I was like, oh cool, you know the Cosmos? And they were like, no way, you know the Cosmos, because this was back in like, I think this was 2018, maybe early 2019, something like that. Time kind of blends together, pre-COVID. Um, and that person was Shane. And so then Shane and I became like, good friends and started like hanging out and like running some validators together and like talking about the kinds of things we wanted to do. So that was the start of really Stargaze. So I met Shane in a cafe over some laptop stickers. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into Cosmos is really just lucking out and going to a blockchain at Berkeley Talk and seeing Sunny give an amazing talk on IBC. Probably, I think it was sometime in like late 2017, 2018. I kind of forget.
Yeah, that is kind of a really adorable story. You just randomly run into somebody and then you end up making a huge product together.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like it's life is like that sometimes. Like these random little things.
Yeah.
I think of how different my life would have been like if I hadn't gone to see that talk that Sunny gave. I wouldn't have been interested in Cosmos, and I might not have met Shane, and then I might, like I'd probably be working on something completely different. So,
And what inspired you to work with NFTs for Stargaze?
well, funny enough, Stargaze did not start working as an NFT marketplace. We wanted to build decentralized social media. So we've been actually building in with Stargaze for um, probably like, well, for over 2 years. And so we started with decentralized social media. And we kind of had this notion that posts would be NFTs. Um, and so that kind of really was actually the start. We actually didn't start out to like, try and build an NFT marketplace. We started out trying to build a decentralized Twitter. And, I think Shane had the realization that it actually made more sense to launch the marketplace first because it's easier to build a social protocol out of a marketplace, especially an active one, than to try to build a social protocol from scratch. Building a decentralized social network is a very, very hard thing. I think it can be done. I think it will be done, but I'm kind of glad we kind of did this massive pivot and decided to launch an NFT marketplace instead. So
Yes, so regarding with what is happening with Elon Musk, do you think now is the better time to start with a decentralized social network now?
it's not a bad time to start a decentralized social network. I think we definitely still need it. I wouldn't be surprised if like the deal winds up falling through, because like you know Elon Musk understands DPS or drama per second. Like, the more you're talked about, the more like free press and publicity you're getting. Um, and I don't think it's actually going to go through. That's my hot take. But yeah, I think even if it does go through, there's still room for like someone else to um, come in and like really fulfill the decentralized social use case. But what I would caution is it's just so hard, and there's so many different layers. I think that in many ways, what we're building with Stargaze will like tackle some of those layers. Another one of my projects, DAO, is working on sort of like the governance side of things because governance. I think the problem with centralized social media is that like you have like one entity that we have no democratic control over that controls everything. And they don't necessarily do so transparently. Like people get banned for sometimes no reason at all. Like they just get banned and they don't even know why. But it's not to say that there shouldn't be like governance or moderation. I actually think I'm one of those people that I think moderation is actually a really good thing. It's just it shouldn't be controlled by like one company, if that makes sense. But whenever you get into like the whole decentralized social things, like all these like really political issues about like moderation and free speech and all that stuff really come up, and you need to make sure that you have the tools to like to deal with those issues. And moreover, like one of the things we really work on a lot at Stargaze, especially in the early things, and I wouldn't be surprised if you'll see some of these ideas like come back later, is curation. How do we make sure that the best content, the best NFT launches like get featured and are brought to the top? And how do you do so in a way that is like transparent and fair and doesn't rely on like a secret group of people like deciding what's popular and what's not?
Yeah, I have actually noticed that with the initial projects on Stargaze, there was a voting system on the Discord, so all the projects would talk about their mission, and then the community would vote on it. And I thought that was really cool, like especially for the Genesis mints.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Did you know the voting system got gamed?
Yeah, I got to know about that later with the issue with the Discord bot, I think.
Yeah. I think that's fixed. I think that we'll probably bring that back because I also like the idea of a voting system. Another thing that we saw is like I'm not going to name any names, but like certain projects were trying to like bribe people with free NFTs to vote for their projects, which I find hilarious. Um, but yeah, it's designing these kinds of systems in crypto is really challenging. So I think that anyone, and that's just for an NFT marketplace, building a decentralized social media protocol is going to be a lot more. So yeah, I think one of the smartest things Shane ever had us do is just like, it's always brave to like pivot as a startup. We had been doing the whole like decentralized Twitter thing for like over a year and a half, and then we were just like, okay, no, NFT marketplace. But who knows? Maybe we'll evolve someday back into the original decentralized social vision. So
Okay, and now that we're back on the topic of NFTs, and maybe we can go a bit technical now. So, one thing is that Stargaze is built on Cosmos SDK, and the SDK already has an NFT module. And was that explored during the development of Stargaze and how it fits the requirements?
yeah, it does. Like the NFT module is still, kind of a work in progress. In many ways, when the NFT module or when we were working on Stargaze, like the NFT module was not quite ready. Um, Another thing, I actually have really strong opinions about the NFT module. Um, but like, we did consider it. I think that, and we'll probably get into this with some of the other questions. We just kind of got a little bit like burnt out on like doing everything with native SDK modules. It it made us move a lot slower than we should have, and we went through many different like Cosmos SDK upgrades that were very painful, and you know I think we had this, like we want the great thing about also like Cosmwasm NFTs is there's a lot more customization. Like the NFT module, I think is really great if you want like just a very, very standard NFT experience where there is a token ID and it's owned by someone and you can transfer it to someone and it has a token URI associated with it. And the URI is really the NFT. It has all the metadata about the NFT, such as like the image, or it'll have the name and description and the attributes. That's all just one URI. And I think that's fine for like a lot of use cases. So if someone was like, oh, we're going to like go build like an NFT chain, like I wouldn't recommend that they shouldn't use the NFT module. But the Cosmwasm is a lot more powerful and you can do a lot more customized stuff. So we've been talking with like a lot of artists that want to do like generative artwork, and you can't really do that level of customization with the NFT module. And you can like with Cosmosm, you just basically have like full control. You can make NFTs and you can do whatever you want. You can make it so that you can transfer it only 3 times, and then after the 3rd time you transfer it, it gets like burned or like transformed, or you can give it like custom methods that will, like, do certain things. The level of customization you get is just much higher, and I think that makes it a lot more interesting for like NFT artists. If you're doing something like, I don't know, like a video game or whatever, and you don't really want to have like custom logic, like you're not like working with like generative artists that want to make like cool generative art on the blockchain, like then yeah, NFT module might be fine. But it's still, I'm not sure how finalized it is. I think it's very close, if not like finalized. But it wasn't at the time we kind of like made the decision, and we kind of just decided to go full on Cosmwasm development because Cosmwasm is amazing, so good, and you can just move really, really fast. But maybe some of your other questions might hint at that. I don't know. Does that answer your question? Um,
Yeah, and I think we'll get into Cosmosm stuff later on.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, in
we have.
short, just customization and then like timing. Uh, it wasn't really ready by the time we needed it to be ready.
Yeah. So when we are talking about flexibility, we noticed that we are using Starport, which is now called Ignite CLI for the development of Stargaze. So how are you using Ignite CLI for the development?
Um, it's basically just like a scaffolding tool. We scaffold it because it does a lot of the like kind of just boilerplate like sort of stuff. There's a lot of boilerplate that's needed to like build like a Cosmos SDK blockchain, um, and then that's it. Then we don't. Then we stop using it. It's a so like Jorge does like all the like major upgrades and stuff. It is a very useful scaffolding tool. Anyone who's getting started with Cosmos SDK development, I think, should definitely try out Ignite CLI is what it's called now, or Starport. It's always going to be Starport in my mind. Um, and yeah, it's a really great tool for like getting started. I've found that once you get started, you're still kind of like oftentimes like in the weeds. So especially if you want to do like anything like really custom, but it's like if you're going to start an app specific blockchain, like it'll generate that code for you. If you're going to build a new module, it'll generate that code for you, and then you got a nice little like kind of boilerplate. That's how I've found to use it. I'm sure it's like a lot more powerful, and you could use it to develop more robust features. But a lot of times, some of the stuff we're wanting to do is a little bit more custom and tricky. Um, so,
Did
yeah.
you face any issues while using Ignite CLI?
Say what?
Did you face any specific issues while using Ignite CLI?
No, it's like I think it's really good at what it does. I think it's really good at scaffolding and like code generation and getting you started. I think it gets you started, and after that, you kind of go from there. Um, I had this similar experience. Well, a very different experience with Juno. We also used the Ignite CLI or Starport then to start it, and then it also quickly got abandoned because um, we needed to like we wanted to use the latest SDK and we wanted to use the latest CosmWasm, and then guess what? It didn't support either of those, so we had to like just go do it ourselves. And then um, it's really good for getting started, I think. And I think that eventually, as the tool evolves, it'll get better for like maintaining like and automatically doing upgrades and things like that, and potentially like building out more powerful features. Like you can build out some like really basic like features, but if you want to do anything that's like a little bit more complicated, I think you still have to learn the Cosmos SDK and you still have to learn Go code. Um, like, but like it's great. It's a great way to get started. We had like no issues. It's like really good at like just generating like the basic boilerplate of like a module or like just the chain itself. Um, and then you just go from there.
Yeah, even I always thought of it something as like a create React app equivalent for Cosmos blockchains.
I think that that's the metaphor. Is it's yeah, create React app. Create React app is not going to do like everything you want it to do, but it'll get you started with a really nice template. And then we also didn't use any of the front end stuff it generates. It does generate like a lot of nice view code and stuff, but we didn't use any of that. So, but it is probably useful for maybe some other developers out there that are thinking about building their own chain. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
actually, that's the main motto of that. And I'm myself working in the team.
sick.
So, yeah,
Mhm.
definitely we'll plan a specific session for that.
Cool. I'm excited. That'll be
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
And since you were talking about how most of the implementation was done from the CosmWasm side, so can you give a little overview of the like the contracts you're using? Like I saw like there's a claim module, but also a claim contract, and which goes where, and one part
Yeah,
of it
see,
is
this
actually.
is the kind of stuff that you can't really build with Starport or Ignite CLI. Um, so we wanted to have it so that let me just back up and talk a little bit about the contracts, and then we'll talk about that claim contract and the claim module and how they work together. So the main contract is SG721, which is like our NFT contract. That maintains like each of the different collections. So when you buy an NFT on Stargaze, it's maintained by that contract. And if you know anything about the ERC 721 standard, it's basically that. It's like a CosmWasm version of the ERC 721 standard. And we have like a few like kind of Stargaze specific helpers and stuff in it. Some of which will probably make it to the CW 721 standard. I know there's a lot of 721 standards, but bear with me. Some of the Stargaze features will likely make them their way to the CW721 at some point, I imagine. But yeah, so that's like the main like NFT contract. Currently, we only have one, but eventually we're going to support a bunch of other templates. Like a generative art template is coming soon, which I think I'm really excited for. There's also the we call it the minter contract. So this basically like handles the sale. So if you go to Stargaze today, you'll see the various different launch pads. You know, like if you were there early, you could have gotten like a bad kid, and you saw like the sort of like basically it's like a sale page. We call it a minter or a launcher. But it basically manages like an NFT sale. So there's like a whitelist, for example. Some projects like give out spaces on like a whitelist to their all their different like friends or whatever, or like people that have contributed to their community. Sometimes those people get a discount. There is like, and that's also its own separate contract, which basically is just like, are you on this list or not? It's a pretty simple contract. And then there's some other contracts that are like less used at the moment, but I think will be more important in the future. We have like a royalty group contract. So imagine if you made an NFT with a group of friends and you wanted to like split like the revenue. That contract is for that. Not too many people have used that yet, so hopefully we'll start to see some more. And then there's also the sort of claim contract. And the way we did our airdrop is there was different, like similar to Osmosis, there was different phases and different tasks you had to do in order to claim the airdrop. The first one was just hit the claim button on the airdrop site, and that would give you like a fifth of your airdrop. And then we've also had things like stake, vote and governance, and then recently buy an NFT. And when the marketplace launches, which is going to be really, really soon, I think, I can't really say, but there might be some surprises, good surprises. When the marketplace launches, you'll be able to do the fifth task, which is to like buy an NFT on the marketplace. And so that claim contract actually handles the case of when you purchase an NFT on the launch pad. But that claim contract also needs to call into a native Cosmos module, because we have the claim module, which you were talking about, and that maintains basically like the airdrop, basically. So that's a native Cosmos SDK module. Now, the cool thing about CosmWasm is that we can interact with those native Cosmos SDK modules. And in fact, the claim contract is a really good example of building like support for like a custom like Cosmos module inside of CosmWasm. Like you really don't get this with Solidity, and like that's like I think one of the amazing things about CosmWasm in particular is you can sort of customize CosmWasm for each special chain it's on. And if there is a native module, like you can build CosmWasm interactions with that so that anyone can write a smart contract for those things. But yeah, so like the way it works is you buy an NFT on like the launchpad, and then you can head over to the claim contract, or like basically the airdrop site, and you hit the claim button, and that checks the claim contract, and the claim contract fires off a special message to the claim module, and it will release the airdrop for the person that claimed it if they bought an NFT. So it's actually, I think, a pretty cool example of like a native SDK module and custom smart contracts working together closely. So And credit
Yeah,
to like Jorge and Shane for like, really like getting that very smooth.
yeah. I noticed there was one more, like there's a minter contract and there's also a mint module. Like, do they also work in similar ways?
So that's just an unfortunate coincidence of naming. The Mint module is kind of like that deals with like Cosmos SDK, like coin types. Um, that they're completely separate. Um, it's just unfortunate. Like even in terms of NFT, there's a lots of things that are called minting, which like leads to a ton of confusion. Like a lot of NFTs have a mint method on the NFT contract. So the SG721 contract actually has a mint method on it. But then we also have the minter contract. It gets really confusing. I always liked calling the minter contract a sale contract because that's really what you're doing. You're just selling a group of NFTs, and I think that like made like a lot more sense. But um, we don't build in a vacuum, and they're called minter contracts on like a lot of other like NFT platforms, or they're called launch pads. So we wind up going with launchpad, and like the actual contract is called minter. Um, but who knows? Maybe someday we'll just like call it sale or whatever. But yeah, like it's the term minting applies to a bunch of different things. So for example, like the mint module in Cosmos can like mint native Cosmos SDK tokens or burn them. And then like, NFT contracts, so like SG721 or CW721 also have a mint and burn functionality. And the CW20 contract or Cosmosm 20, which is like the ERC20 like token contract, also has mint and burn functionality. So um, yeah.
That would be really cool. Also, Stargaze logic is split into SDK modules as well as smart contracts. So, how was that decided on, and what logic will go where?
Most of the logic is in Cosmosm modules now. We used to do everything with native modules, but we found that it was like a lot slower to move. Like you couldn't move as fast, and they just broke more often. So like there's a lot of Cosmos SDK upgrades. And I think they're getting better now, but in the past there were like really big breaking changes upgrades that like broke everything. And so having, Cosmosm in comparison, those smart contracts is much more stable. Sure, we might have to upgrade the WASM module, the WASM Cosmos SDK module, but that all the contracts can stay the same, which is great. Um, so it really allows you to iterate like very rapidly. Also, like in order to upgrade a native module, what do you have to do? You have to do a whole like chain upgrade, and then you have to talk with all your validators, and you have to like get everyone's like on board to do like the chain upgrade, and then you have to write like custom upgrade handlers. I don't know how many of the audiences like Cosmos SDK developers that if there's like if you're changing the state at all, like say for like NFTs, we added like a new field or whatever, or like some new type of data to it. We'd have to run an upgrade handler to migrate all the current state to like the new type of data. Um, and so that's just a lot of work to like make changes. And when you're like in the early days, like Stargaze, like you want to move as fast as possible. And in the eyes of like people who are just users, it's never fast enough. Like they want all these features like now. Um, and so like Cosmosm just like allows us to ship and like iterate like much quicker, and we don't have to do a full chain upgrade. And it's a lot faster dev environment. It's a lot more stable as well. And one thing is also building a front end is a lot easier in Cosmosm than with native Cosmos SDK modules. And we can talk a little bit about that because I've got a long rant there. But yeah, that's so like currently most of we've switched. We used to do everything native SDK, and now we basically do everything Cosmosm. We had some I mean, the way we did the airdrop was not with Cosmosm, so we needed to write custom code to integrate with that. I think that we'll likely have some custom, like Jorge is working on some like amazing stuff to like basically write like custom like end blockers or begin blockers that like interact with Cosmosm smart contracts. So that'll be like a really cool mesh of CosmWasm contracts and native SDK development. But for the time being, I think we're very, very focused on building as much as possible in CosmWasm, and yeah.
So, did you encounter any complications while using both together?
While using both together, um, no, it's gone pretty good actually. I think it's yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, now coming to all the various NFT standards. So NFTs on Ethereum follow ERC 721 usually, and CosmWasm has its own, and now Stargaze has its own. And you said that
Yeah, CosmWasm and Stargaze are basically the same. I'm also a maintainer on the CW NFTs library, so those interoperate pretty seamlessly.
okay, but what are the differences between the three? Like, is there something which is on Stargaze one which hasn't been pushed upstream yet?
Yeah, there's two features. One I think is going to be probably pushed upstream very shortly. We have a contract URI. So in some Ethereum contracts, there's this notion of contract level metadata. So for like an NFT collection, it would be like, what is the name of the collection? What are the description of the collection? Like, it's more about like if you have like an NFT series, it's like basically information about like that series, So and you see this on like if you go to Stargaze today and you go on the launch pad and you see like bad kids, and then there's like a featured image and there's a description of bad kids, and so that's where that's coming from. It's coming from the contract URI, which is like sort of like metadata about the whole collection. And then each individual token has their own like, token URI, which is like a description of that individual NFT. But I think that that's very useful. Right now, CW NFTs only have name and symbol, which is a start, but I think contract URI is like a slightly better pattern. And then we also have like a fee structure built in. So, I think fees are like important to like combat, spam, and to like make sure that we have like all the right behaviors on chain. And like with Stargaze, we have this pretty cool mechanism that Shane came up with, which is called fair burn. And what that means is like the fees don't go to like us. They like half get burned and half go to the community pool. And so that's also like the thought is like also how do you create like a self-sustaining like NFT marketplace, or just like a self-sustaining NFT platform. Like if you imagine like right now staking rewards are very high, but like eventually like they'll like taper off to like zero, and how does the protocol like operate in a world where there's like zero, inflation? And the answer is like, yeah, based on like an economy of like actual like, micropayments and fees. So I'd say like that's like actually like the major difference is like Stargaze or SG721 has like built-in support for like Stargaze's like fee structure and like also royalties. Royalties is another feature that's built in. There is a CW721 royalties thing, which we'll figure out how to like integrate. I don't know if anyone is actually using that yet, but yeah, I think that like kind of those are like sort of high level differences. So built-in support for royalties, the sort of the fee like support for like Stargaze fee structure, and like that contract URI. And I wouldn't be surprised if like the royalties and like the contract URI like make their way over at some point. We're just busy like shipping a marketplace, so like haven't had as much time for contributing.
And is there any plan for SG1155 standard support in the future?
I think so. Yeah, I think we'll wind up adding support for that as well.
I mean, I didn't know about this, but is that possible? Is it already supported in CosmWasm?
There's an old version, but the old version needs a lot of work. And then I was working with a friend of mine on a new version, and that is an open PR in the CW NFTs repo. So the answer is yes, but I wouldn't want to use it as is. It needs a little bit more work.
Okay. And I remember there was a governance proposal to introduce all these contracts, the Minter whitelist contracts, and all of this into Stargaze. And the original three proposals were found to have critical bugs. Can you go a bit into what was the issue and how it was detected and how was it eventually solved?
Yeah, so we're working with an auditor, Oak Security, and they went through the contracts and really, just found a critical bug like fairly last minute, which was not fun for us, but this is why it's always great to have people look over your contracts, and also why building in the open source is really cool. Um, and the issue was that uh, basically you could buy and like we have a limit to like how many NFTs can be purchased per address. Um, and it just makes it a little bit more difficult for like people to like not buy like the whole collection. We don't want it so that like if like a really cool series like Bad Kids or whatever comes out, and you don't want like one person to just like buy the whole collection. Um, so basically there was like this hack you could do where you could buy up to the limit, say like the limit is like 10 Bad Kids or whatever. um, you could buy 10 Bad Kids, transfer them to a new address, and then buy 10 more, and then transfer those and then buy 10 more, and then transfer those and buy 10 more. Like it didn't actually like maintain any state about like, oh, this address has already bought 10. It only like checks like the current balance of the user. um, so that was, in hindsight, like a pretty obvious mistake. It like you could argue it's maybe like not that big of a deal, but we really wanted the launch to like go well and make sure that there weren't like people weren't complaining about like collections like selling out or whatever. We didn't know if anyone would like actually take advantage of it, but we decided like it was severe enough that we should postpone the launch and get it fixed. And so it was easily fixed by like just, instead of like querying like how many NFTs the user currently owns, we like kept track of it in state basically. um,
Yeah, something like this. If somebody's already in the whitelist, it could be like severely abused, I guess.
yeah, definitely. You could sell out the whole series before it even gets to public sale.
Yeah, and smart contracts on Stargaze were deployed using governance mechanism.
Yep.
What were the reason for doing it this way as opposed to typical chains that allow direct uploads on the contract?
Yeah, so I think that like permissioned cosmosm is actually really popular. So a lot of the people using cosmosm, um, especially recently, like chains that are adding it, like Osmosis, like Stargaze, and there's like quite a few others as well. They're all using permissioned cosmosm, which means that in order to add a smart contract to the chain, like it has to be voted on by governance. Um, there's trade-offs. I think that in many ways this is a really good thing, but it's also good to have like chains like Juno, which I also work on, where it's kind of like the wild wild west and like anyone can like upload anything. um, it's it's a little bit more secure. It definitely reduces the attack surface. um, you don't have to worry about people uploading malicious smart contracts to chains, which does happen. um, and I think another thing is you also get a trusted set of smart contracts. It's less like people don't have to worry as much about like getting rugged or whatever, because they know every smart contract that's deployed on chain has had a lot of eyes on it and has had like people review it, and is like well thought out for being there. So like, and another really I think important thing is like it enables like lower fees. Like we can have zero fees on Stargaze, like zero gas fees, uh, because we have permissioned smart contracts. If anyone could upload anything, then you can't have zero fees. Like you just can't, because like people will upload a contract that does like a ton of meaningless compute, and they'll just spam it with transactions because gas is free. Um, and so in order to have like free gas, like you see on like Osmosis or like on Stargaze, you need to have a constrained set of actions. You can't just have like people upload random math puzzles or like chess games or whatever. Like people upload that stuff on Juno, and I think it's like really fun. But it's yeah, I think that like, and it's like you kind of need both. I like think of it as like like the yin yang or whatever. It's like permissionless and like permissions like kind of like build off each other and feed on each other. Like so like really Juno is a great place to like experiment and like you know uh try out like a bunch of different things. And then like I think Stargaze and Osmosis are like these more application specific blockchains that are really trying to do like one thing and do it really well and make sure that it's like a trusted environment or whatever. Like you just can't, unless you've read like the source code or whatever. Like a lot of things on Juno are just like very hacky and you maybe shouldn't trust them, but it's definitely a fun place to play around. And I like building, I think they both work together. Like, so.
Yeah, I do think like having governance approved contracts it gives it a sort of authenticity that this is something legitimate and not just something any random person uploaded.
Yeah, and it saves block space too. That's another thing is like, if you want to keep fees really low, like better to just make sure all block space is dedicated towards your one application. So.
Okay, coming on to some more general questions now. What do you think are the advantages of having a sovereign chain for NFTs? Because I think having something like Ethereum or Secret Network where everything happens on chain means any other application can also easily leverage that.
I think that this is changing because of things like interchain accounts. So interchain accounts are launching soon. The Cosmos Hub already has them. Juno and Stargaze will have them soon as well. I imagine like other chains in the Cosmos will also start to deploy interchain accounts. And what interchain accounts do is they allow for like the level of composability that you have in something like Ethereum. I mean, these are different sovereign blockchains, but like you can control an account on another blockchain from another blockchain. Like how cool is that? So one of the projects I'm working on called DAO is like interchain DAO tooling. And the really cool thing is a DAO on Juno can actually launch an NFT series on Stargaze after interchain accounts. Because a DAO on Juno will be able to control an account on Stargaze, which is really cool. And what that means is then you start getting this composability that you get in like an all-purpose chain like Ethereum or like Juno or like Secret Network. You start getting the same kind of composability where then you could even take advantage of this in CosmWasm smart contracts. Like the really cool thing about CosmWasm smart contracts is they're like fundamentally kind of interchain smart contracts by default. Like you have this low level access to IBC, which is really cool. And so then you could build like, I don't know, a smart contract on Osmosis that makes a DeFi product out of NFTs on Stargaze. I mean, I don't know anyone who's working on that right now, but I think after interchain accounts ship, like that, like such things will be possible. And I have been talking with like a lot of people, like Juno devs that are working on, for example, smart contracts on Juno that trade assets on Osmosis or like enter LP pools on Osmosis to like, build DeFi products or query the price of assets on Osmosis, all in CosmWasm smart contract code. So I guess to answer your question is like with interchain accounts, having an application specific blockchain that does like one thing, like, NFTs and like an NFT marketplace, like is actually doable. You can combine it with like, all these other like smart contracts on like, especially other CosmWasm chains. So yeah, that's my example to you is like a DAO on Juno will be able to like launch NFT projects on Stargaze. And I've actually talked with a couple of people that want to do just that. So
I'm excited about that. And what use cases will IBC support bring to the NFTs on Stargaze in the future?
So yeah, I think that I mean we are working on cross-chain NFTs. So we actually have like a whole person that's really dedicated to cross-chain NFTs, um, i.e. like bridging NFTs over from the Ethereum or EVM ecosystem, as well as like going through the ICS 721 standard and building an implementation of that in Cosmosm. So I'm unless someone beats us to it, I'm pretty sure we're like going to be the first team to like really like deploy an open source version of like the ICS 721 standard for Cosmosm chains. Um, and then I think like that'll get really excited because I think a lot of chains want to like issue NFTs for various things. Like we talk with the Regen Networks folks, we're really good friends with them, and I think it'd be really fun, like if like Regen could like uh you know issue an NFT series for like the most regenerative people, or like use it as a way that like a farm or whatever can you know like do a sale on Stargaze and raise some capital for you know their regenerative agriculture project. Um, the Bitcana people, like they actually like launched some NFTs on Stargaze and like airdropped them to people. I did not get one, which I'm kind of sad about. Um, but yeah, I think that like a lot of chains will want to like launch NFTs. To have a good marketplace, though, you need a lot of liquidity. It's kind of like building a good DEX. And I think, in many ways, like the short-term version of Stargaze is to be like osmosis, but, for like NFT marketplace and NFT liquidity. And so, yeah, every chain will want to launch their own NFTs, but, like where the liquidity goes will determine like kind of like the best marketplace, if that makes sense.
Yeah, actually, before we move forward, we have some question from the audience.
Okay, great.
Uh, yeah, so the question is, how does one make a decentralized social algorithm for NFTs?
Okay, yeah, that's a really complicated question. Um, I'm not sure what's meant by social algorithm there. I'm gonna just take it and I'm gonna spin it with my own direction. But if I screwed up your question, feel free to ask it again in the chat. Um, I think that it ultimately has to deal with curation, which like you only have like so much screen real estate, especially as like more and more people launch NFTs. Eventually you get like millions of NFTs on the platform, and then people start needing to have a feed. Like, how do things show up in that feed? What is the algorithm that determines, or how are things curated such that like we can discover NFTs? um so that's one aspect, is the whole curation aspect. Like, and curation can be like manual. It could be like, people liking and sharing stuff, like, like when I'm on Instagram and I like something, it shows up in my likes. Or if I'm on Twitter and I retweet something, it shows up in my feed. Like those are things, that's curation. You're actually doing work. And we did a lot of work in Stargaze early on about thinking about different types of curation and how we might incentivize curation as well. These are all pretty difficult topics, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get back to them at some point. Um, and then I think the second part is moderation, is like, you know, and I think you can't really have one without the other. Like to curate something, to like retweet it or whatever, like if you have a community that's like doing like puppy NFTs, I don't know, there might be one in the future, like because people like dogs. You know, uh, if you have a puppy NFT community and people are like selecting the best like puppies and stuff, and then someone comes along and posts a dead puppy, like I'm sorry, like that goes against the rules of the community. Like, get out of here. Like and like that person should be like, we need moderation tools for that purpose. It's like, yeah, you can go talk anywhere on the, like, no one's impinging your freedom of speech, but if you're in the cute puppy communities, there's like, don't post pictures of dead puppies or things that are off topic. It's like reasonable. It's like It's just building moderation tools that are decentralized and not controlled by like, any one company or whatever. But yeah, I'd say it's like just boils down to curation and moderation, and like the curation mechanics. There's a ton that could be like a whole talk in and of itself about curation mechanics, but I'll spare everybody.
Okay, I think that's about the end of the questions we had about Stargaze, but a few questions regarding other developers who want to enter the field. So,
Great.
like, if there's a person who has very little experience with Web3, maybe some crypto trading, but that's about it, what advice would you give them to become a developer in this field? Like, what technologies would you recommend they learn, like, as a new programmer?
As a new programmer, I think Rust. I think Rust is like the hottest language in like not just crypto. I think that's why another great reason why Rust is great is, yeah, you can write smart contracts in Rust, but you can write anything in Rust. And if you want, like, I think it's one of the best like languages to learn for job opportunities. Like, even if you want to go like work at a big boring web 2 company like Amazon, and why would you do that? Don't do that. Like, join, like, I mean, if you really wanted to, um, they hire, like, they're using Rust a lot. Like, Rust is just like really cool, very performant, like awesome languages. You can build anything, like you can build smart contracts with it, which is really cool. You can build web servers. You can even build like front ends, like user applications with Rust. You can build generative art. Like, it's one of the most powerful and expressive languages, and it's currently my favorite. I love Rust, and there's just so much you can do with it. And even if like all of crypto goes to zero, you'll still have like a really valuable skill. Um, I think the other one that's like not going away, I like it less, but JavaScript is still a really big part of Web3, because all these smart contracts don't really mean anything if there's not like a user interface to like interact with them. And building a good user experience on top of the smart contracts is just vital. And so, yeah, I think eventually we'll be able to build like really nice WebAssembly based user applications that run on all the different devices. But right now, JavaScript is the best way of doing that. Specifically TypeScript too. Most people use TypeScript instead of JavaScript, but it compiles to JavaScript. And yeah, I think that is another one that's like also just generally useful. You can just use it for so many different things. But I would recommend that one if you want to be more. You also have to decide like where you want to sit in the stack. Do you want to do more data stuff? Do you want to do like front ends, like user facing applications, like really building stuff that the users use, thinking more like in terms of like design? Or do you want to do kind of like more low level consensus stuff, like build the actual blockchain or like build smart contracts, Um, for like smart contract kind of stuff, or for building like actual blockchains, like Rust and Go are great. Obviously, the Cosmos SDK is written in Go. Go is another like really great. I don't like it as much as Rust, but other people will disagree with me on that. Um, but Go is another great language. I do really like Go a lot. It's really great to write. And guess what? CosmWasm support. It's like there's going to be a team. It's not officially supported yet, but there's going to be a team that's going to be like making it so that you can write smart contracts in Go. That's another really cool thing about CosmWasm, is that we have the ability to eventually support like more languages. But yeah, so if you want to do like kind of just like build the actual chains themselves, or build like the actual consensus stuff, or do smart contracts, Go or Rust. And also, like, those are two languages you can kind of learn and play with together. They have a decent amount of similarities. There's like some big differences, um, but if you want to do front end stuff, I would say JavaScript. And if you want to do data stuff, because I think that this is something that people don't talk about, but is actually a huge opportunity in crypto, is like building tools that like index the data and do useful things. Like, for example, how much do I owe in taxes? Like, this you could just build with like Python scripts and like just like database like queries or whatever, or like just like sometimes like this is just like simple like data tools like that you'd use for data analysis. So for that, I think like Python is a great library, and then just learning how to like interact with like all these different chains and whatever, and get the data and query the data you need from them to achieve whatever you're trying to do. Maybe you're doing like on-chain forensics, or maybe you're like making tools that like, you know, do something with the data. Like, but yeah, I think that is like a huge opportunity, and it'd be great to get more developers into that. Like, there's just tons of really exciting tools to build that will like, save a lot of people time. So
So, since you really were shilling Rust pretty much, I just wanted to ask, do you think it's not worth it to go with Solidity instead? It is supposed to be easier to learn. And
no,
even
I
in
think
Cosmos,
I really disagree with that. I think Solidity is deceptively easy. People do crypto zombies and they think they understand Solidity, and they don't understand like really anything. The only way you understand Solidity, and if you like, I still think it's worth like learning Solidity. I mean, it's not my top choice, but um, like, and I respect Solidity and Solidity developers. Like, that's actually kind of where I got my start in smart contracts. So I didn't like actually make anything that was useful or good. But like, it's Solidity is important to learn how to read, because like so much of the like interesting developments that we've seen in crypto, such as DeFi and DAO tooling and NFTs, have started in Solidity and in the EVM and in Ethereum specifically. And so it's important to like pay respect to your elders. Like, and I think it's important to like understand like the important things that have been done there, but if only to like figure out how to like maybe do them better. But Solidity is deceptively simple. I think that the only way to understand Solidity is to actually understand how the EVM works. And so what I would rather than going and learning the syntax, I would like go and learn, how does the EVM work? What are the different opcodes anyway? And a lot of times in order to write optimized Solidity these days, like people are just like literally dropping down to assembly anyway. Like they're literally picking like the different opcodes. And otherwise it's like also it's too easy to shoot yourself in the foot with Solidity. Like that's what I mean by it's like deceptively simple. It looks like JavaScript, but it's totally not JavaScript. It's like this completely different thing. And like there's just been billions of dollars that has just been lost to like Solidity bugs. This is one of the reasons why I do really like Cosmosm, because it's just like does as much as possible to like protect you. And it doesn't mean it's not possible to write bugs. I'm sure there will be like some like big like contract and security errors in Cosmosm as well, but like it just makes things like reentrancy attacks impossible. It has like the Rust compiler is just so great. It'll scream at you if you like use a value twice or like move it somewhere where it shouldn't be. Like it's just like the Rust dev tools are just like amazing, and it does a lot to protect you. But yeah, Solidity I don't think is an easy language. Also, no one's gonna like if you do crypto zombies, no one's gonna hire you. Like no one hires junior Solidity developers. Like you have to like, I mean, if you want to get a job as a Solidity developer, I would just like learn Solidity and then just actually like write smart contracts and then YOLO deploy them on mainnet, specifically Ethereum mainnet, because that's where all the Solidity developers are. Like all these other like EVM clone chains, they just get copy pasta. They don't get any actual like original like development. Like all the original like Solidity developers still build on Ethereum. Yeah, that's my rant about Solidity. Is like I think it's really important to like understand anyone who's building smart contracts. You should at least learn how to read it, and it is really like decently easy to read as long as there's not like a ton of like assembly code in there or whatever. But it's important to look at those contracts and see like how they're designed. Like for example, when we were building the like DAO contracts, initially like we've kind of since reorged them, and they're like a lot more original now and way more powerful. But we read Malak v2, which is their really cool. I love the Malak v2 contracts. It's a DAO contract. We also read like compound governance and Gnosis safe multisigs and things like that. So it's really important to like I think, especially as a smart contract author, is like really understand the prior art of what is out there. But it's still a great language to learn. But if you are interested in learning Solidity, I would really encourage you to learn how the EVM works. It'll just help you so much, and like help you actually understand what is happening versus like, this looks like JavaScript.
Yeah. Well, we are almost at the end of this stream. So, we want to know what are your future plans with Stargaze, and where do you see the domains of NFTs going in the near term and in the long term future?
I mean, future plans to Stargaze is ship the marketplace. It's gonna happen. Um, no, I think the future plans of Stargaze is, yeah, obviously we're gonna ship the marketplace. It's gonna be a lot of cool features and stuff that's like built on that. I'll let Shane talk about like kind of like the future roadmap there, but there's really cool things like NFT staking coming out, which is gonna be cool. Uh, I'm personally excited for interchain accounts to launch on Stargaze because I think it's going to open up like a ton of interesting possibilities. But where I'm personally interested is getting new types of content and art and communities on Stargaze. Like right now we have like a really big like PFP community, like people making like profile picture like NFTs, you know, and that's great. But I want to see like real art. I want to see music NFTs on Stargaze. I want to see like other types of NFT communities on Stargaze. That's kind of like my like major focus. But I do have another major focus because you asked about like what I think the future of NFTs are, and I think the future of NFTs is like definitely like kind of built around this idea of like integrations. Like the actual NFT itself is just an entry in a ledger, but like what kind of experiences can you build on top of that? So like I worked with this team called Storybot, and we built like a token gated Discord community. So if you own a certain NFT, say you own a Repop or a Bad Kids, or then you can get access to like secret Discord channels for your NFT ownership. Uh, this is just the start. I think that this idea is like one of the coolest ideas about NFTs. Like that if you like own an NFT, you get access to like secret rooms or like a secret community or experiences. So one of the things I'm working with a team on is token gated events. So like you want to like go to like a like party or a secret show, or maybe if you like buy like a book or an art NFT, like it's a talk with the artist or the author. Allowing like people to like build the kind of event like experiences, like in-person IRL events on top of NFTs, I think is going to be really cool. And that opens up like possibilities like NFT like ticketing, things like that. um, Another one I'm really excited about, which I think is going to take a little bit longer, but you asked me about the future, so I can just throw it out there because I think merch. I think like physical like merchandise of uh, people like wear like their NFTs on their T-shirts or whatever. So imagine a service where you can get your NFT like printed on a T-shirt, but you have to prove that you own it. Like things like that, like building these kinds of experiences on top of it, is just like I think really kind of low hanging fruit. And we're like already working with some teams on, well, at least like the NFT like gated events kind of thing. um so yeah, that's a bit about the future. But I do think that another thing that's coming to Stargaze soon is curation, because that's very much a heart of what we've been doing at Stargaze, and really coming back to, in many ways, some of like our very old ideas about how we can use curation DAOs to like surface the best content on Stargaze. Um, but yeah, I think we're probably out of time. But that's my high level take on what's next at Stargaze and what I'm excited for in the future of NFTs. So
Yeah. Well, actually, I have got one question. How many
great.
people are actually working in the Stargaze team?
So we got the three OGs, which is Shane, Jorge, and I. We've got someone who's fully working on interoperability. So like with like the Ethereum bridges and with the ICS 721. We have another smart contract engineer, John, who's amazing. Michael is the guy who's working on the interoperability, ICS 721. We have a lot of amazing community people. Jay and Ruan, they like interact with all the artists and all the community, and there's just like so much work to do there. We have a large group of people that are doing various things like data stuff or like just working on like random tooling or whatever. I'm not sure if they're like part of the core team, but there's like a lot of people that like fall into that category. We have two amazing new front end engineers that have just joined us and are like going to help us like build a lot faster. So that's really really great. And they're cleaning up some of my messy code. So I just try to get it done. Just try to ship it. But yeah, Shredar and Joseph are two amazing front end engineers that have joined us. So, and I hope I didn't forget anybody. I think that like that's most. I mean, there's a lot of people also outside the core team that are also helping us. But yeah, we're still pretty small. So, and if anyone out there is listening and they're really interested in contributing to Stargaze in some way, like feel free to like DM me on Twitter.
Definitely, we are gonna send some of the people that we are mentoring to the Stargaze team.
Great.
Yeah, so you can expect a lot of DMs.
Oh,
So
great. Well, I might take a while to get back to them, but I'll get back to them eventually.
yeah, so before we wrap up, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the community? Please feel free to do so.
Dog DAO. Just dog DAO. It's just a little bit of alpha. Like community likes alpha, right? I don't know. Yeah, and then I think I'm just stoked for the Stargaze marketplace. It's gonna be really cool, and interchain accounts. I think Stargaze marketplace and interchain accounts. I'm just so excited for. That's
Yeah,
it. Dog DAO, Stargaze marketplace, interchain accounts.
definitely.
Or maybe if I had to
So
put those in order, it would be Stargaze marketplace, interchain accounts, Dog DAO. But Dog DAO is still up there.
I can say you are really excited about that.
Yeah.
So now I will wrap up the live stream. And thank you so much, Jake, for joining us today. I will
Yeah.
leave all the social media handles and the required links for the people in the description later today in case
Great.
anyone wants to check it out. So, with that, I will close the studio and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.